know, just so you know, they unmute. Just want to let you know.
Thank you, Stevie. We should. Did you send it? No. Makes sense. You like it much? You can tell your mom.
Or the
Wait,
state.
your father. You ready? Are you serious? What? You serious? I was like. Your backpack.
Hey guys, so you're gonna have all like 6 jurors in front row, so I know you're doing this already, but just make sure that that falls. Okay?
Thank you.
Gotcha.
There were 9 kids. They said 7. Whatever. It's gonna get hot. Oh, yeah. What? Thank you so much. Right.
Does anybody see any conflicts in the room? Judges with the competitors, competitors with the judges? Any issues? All right, good luck, guys. You guys can start.
Thank you.
Getting seated. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Wait.
Let's give introductions.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Gabrielle Griffey, and along with my co-counsel, Bryce Babcock, we represent the plaintiff in this case, Sydney New Barnes, the parent and guardian of Marique New Barnes. We have a couple of pretrial agreements as well as a motion housekeeping items, but other than that, we're ready to proceed.
All right, we'll get to that in just a moment. So it's Ms. Griffey
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Babcock.
Yes.
Okay, good morning, both of you. And introductions from the defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Camille Schaefer. Today I'm joined by my co-counsel, Lanaya Davidson. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Together we represent the defense, Klein High School.
All right, thank you very much. Preliminary then.
Yes, Your Honor. First, we'll address a couple housekeeping items. With the court's permission, are we able to move freely around the courtroom during opening, witness examinations and closing?
Yes, ma'am.
And second, Your Honor, we would like to ask the court if an exhibit has already been pre-admitted, do we need to ask to show it to the jury, or can we show it to the jury without asking during
I'm to ask a second time.
Yes, Your Honor. And as far as pretrial agreements, we were able to agree to exhibits 1, 3, 5 is already pre-admitted, and 9. to be able to use throughout this trial, and as well as we wanted to ask the court's permission to use exhibits 1 and 9 during opening.
Okay, on the 1 and 9 during open, any objection?
No objection to those, but in that same meeting pre-trial, we also agreed to pre-admit exhibits 8C and 11.
Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, 1, 3, 5, 9, 8C, 11, and you might use 1 and 9 during opening.
And then we do just have one motion. Opposing counsel informed us that they'll be pursuing assumption of the risk. So today, by way of background, today's case is about Marique New-Barnes, who was forced to run a play that was modified by his coaches. And as such, they're running assumption of the risk from Marique. And so we moved to exclude the signature of Sydney New-Barnes on Exhibit 2 for 2 reasons. First, we find it irrelevant as question 3 on the verdict form only asks if Marique New-Barnes assumed the risk. And second, we're afraid that it will confuse the jury in somehow showing that Marique waived his rights because his parent signed this waiver. So therefore, we asked to exclude her signature from Exhibit 2.
So it was the parent who signed that waiver
Yes, Your Honor, as well as Marique New-Barnes.
and the student,
Yes.
and you are going to exclude the parent's signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're envisioning a document and an exhibit that the jury would see with,
Just constructively remove Sydney New-Barnes' signature.
okay. Does it say underneath it parent signature or something along those lines? I'm just trying to envision how it wouldn't be obvious that that's whose signature you redacted.
I believe so, Your Honor. Yes, it says parent guardian Sydney New-Barnes on the.
You'd like to have probably 9 of those here.
Yes, Your Honor, parent guardian signature.
Your Honor, we oppose that motion. Would you like a copy of the exhibit?
Yes, so no. And this, putting aside this issue of the signature, this has not been pre-admitted, right?
No, Your Honor.
And the parties haven't stipulated to the admission of, is there one side that doesn't want this in at all?
We would like it in, but
You would, and you'd be okay with it?
We would be okay if with it coming in as long as that signature is constructively
All
removed.
right, give me. All right, and so you feel there's some relevance to this?
yes, Your Honor, we oppose this motion. Your Honor, we believe that the parent signature is probative. We're not using the parent signature to show that because the parent signed it, Marique had knowledge of the risk. Instead, it's probative of the context in which Marique signed this document. It shows that Marique wasn't signing this as a child alone or while under pressure. He signed it under parent supervision. It's probative of the credibility of this document. And surely the jury can understand that separate signatures mean separate knowledge. Therefore, we oppose.
All right, Ms. Griffey, I mean, you're gonna have an opportunity to explain to the jury, opening, during closing, at various points, why you feel this shouldn't impact their determination. Why isn't that enough?
Well, we feel that question 3 on the verdict form, I mean, it only asks about if whether or not Marique New-Barnes assumed the risk. So again, we feel that Sydney New-Barnes' signature is relevant in this case.
All right, I'm gonna allow it in, so if you move for this to be admitted, and if I'm ruling that you know, your objection on that grounds, I will not grant that. You still have to, you know, move it into evidence, and there may be some other reason it doesn't come in. But I'm denying that motion, but again, you have a full opportunity to explain that to the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
And with that, we're ready to proceed to trial.
Okay, and before you tell me anything you need to tell me, I forgot, what are the numbers of the teams?
We are team 102.
So plaintiff is 102.
103.
Okay, great. All right, what do you have?
A few housekeeping matters. First, regarding exhibit 2, that waiver, maybe use the exhibit in our opening statement. We do intend to offer it into evidence during trial today.
If there's, is there gonna be any, do you anticipate any other basis for objecting?
No, Your Honor, only the signature of Sydney New-Barnes.
So, given that I've ruled on that, and we stipulate that this is admissible,
Yes, Your Honor.
okay, let's do that.
Understood.
I think we have a 30 issue. One of our judges needs of that case out, I think.
Okay,
I love what happened. I do not.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you want us to pause while you do that?
Yes, please. I'll be right back.
Maybe you didn't. Take a quick break.
Sorry. Well, change this corresponding like that. See, this is one that. Yeah.
Want to take this back or should I hold on to it?
Thank you.
Make it to their time.
I don't think so because the bill will be done and
Oh, okay.
we all agreed to pause, yeah, no worries.
I can give you a piece of paper with all the sections on.
Great.
it, Just a loose paper and then write it on there. Well, if you're gonna be scoring,
We scored as we go.
it's up to you. All 2 seconds.
I don't want to make them nervous while they're. Well, that's my experience, you should go ahead.
That was smart. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Great, okay. All right, that's some house.
Yes, Your Honor, we have a copy of all of the case materials for today. Would you like for us to tender to the bench?
Okay, thank you.
That is the last of our housekeeping matters, but the defense does have one motion. From a brief factual background, if the court would consider it.
Sure.
A high schooler named Marie Newbarnes was paralyzed during high school football practice. The injury that occurred was first observed after he was hit, tackled, and dogpiled. Klein High School has denied liability, but has raised an affirmative defense that Marie assumed the risk of the inherent dangers of football. Turning to our motion, we move under Rule 403 to exclude any evidence that the play in question today, called the quarterback sneak push, was banned in any other states. That evidence is substantially more prejudicial than probative, as the state in question today is Pennsylvania, and at the time this play was run in 2024, this play was legal here in Pennsylvania.
Yes, Your Honor, we oppose this motion for 3 reasons. First, this objection goes to weight, not admissibility. The fact is that we're happy to stipulate that this play was legal in Pennsylvania at the time the coaches ran it. All this evidence goes to is to show the inherent risks of this play. And that's our second reason, which is that negligence is failure to act as a reasonable person would. Reasonable people don't ignore risks, including signs of risks, like that most other jurisdictions had banned this play for high school players. That's completely probative evidence. And since the prejudicial value is so low, that probative value is very high. Third, these defendants are going to say that Marique New Barnes assumed the risk of harm in running this play. And yet they want the jury to ignore evidence that the coaches ignored the risks of harm by running this play, considering the fact that 48 other jurisdictions had banned it. So we're happy to stipulate, if the defendants would like, that this play was legal at the time they ran it. But this evidence is very probative and should be in front of the jury.
May I reply?
First, I'm gonna ask, what's your understanding of what the burden is to establish evidence?
Absolutely, Your Honor. In this jurisdiction, it's that the defendant had to have acted reasonably when acting in the circumstances of this case. Now, the jurisdiction that matters today is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's Pennsylvania's standard of care and reasonableness, not that of other states. To bring in evidence of other states confuses the issues for the jury about what exact standard of care applies.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Beck.
The standard of care under negligence under the law is not the rules of the Pennsylvania Athletic Association. It's not the rules of a football team. What it is the not acting as a reasonable person would under the same or similar circumstances.
Well, or is it as a reasonable person would in Pennsylvania under the same circumstances?
That's correct, Your Honor. It is in Pennsylvania. However, we think that a coach in Pennsylvania shouldn't ignore the risk of harm, considering that most every other state had banned should come in front of the jury.
One more comment?
Your Honor, the jurisdiction that matters today is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The prejudicial effect of confusing the jury of other states and other times is substantial. The probative value of this is limited. There is very limited evidence that the coaches in question who will testify today had knowledge of these other states. In fact, there's actually evidence that they only knew about Pennsylvania's rules and the Pennsylvania Athletic Association. That's what matters today, not the other states. This should be excluded.
All right, I'm going to deny the motion. I understand your argument. I think it's a close call. And I think you have an opportunity to explain all of that to the jury. But I'm going to deny the motion. Thank you.
One last thing, Your Honor. Before trial today, we met with plaintiff counsel and agreed to stipulate that any evidence that Klein High School no longer runs this play would be excluded, as that's a subsequent remedial measure.
Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
With that, we're ready to proceed to openings.
All right, and plaintiff is ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
May it please the court. This was their play, their design, and that means it was their responsibility to make sure that the play was as safe as possible. And they failed. And that failure resulted in a 14-year-old child paralyzed for the rest of his life. The defendant in this case, Thomas R. Klein High School, is a high school right here in Philadelphia. And like most high schools, it has football teams. A varsity team with the oldest, biggest, strongest, and most experienced players. A JV team with slightly younger and less experienced players. And finally, a freshman team with 13 and 14-year-old children right out of middle school. The youngest, weakest, and least experienced players. Now, the freshman team was having problems, losing way too many games, and the coaches were quite frankly embarrassed. So, going into the 2024 season, they knew that their jobs were on the line. They needed to win, and they needed to save themselves. The freshman team was most struggling in short yardage plays when they needed that 1 or 2 yards. So, going into the 2024 season, they thought, what if we try the tush push? Now, the tush push, or the brotherly shove, is a play familiar to most all Eagles fans. It's a version of the quarterback sneak, where the quarterback takes the snap, drives forward behind the offensive line, while at the same time being pushed by 3 of his teammates. The result is a collision of bodies, a pile of players landing one on top of the other. But with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, big, strong legs like tree trunks, it's the perfect play in these short yardage situations. So for a team struggling in short yardage situations, it makes perfect sense to copy a play that's been so successful by the reigning Super Bowl champions. The defendants' coaches in this case had a problem because their quarterback wasn't the big, strong 27-year-old with legs like tree trunks. Their quarterback was Marique Newbarnes, a 14-year-old standing at just 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet, a kid that the coaches even described as tiny. So the defendant coaches couldn't run the tush push in the same way that it had been run in the NFL. You see, when Jalen Hurts would run this play, he would stand up strong, chest up, head up in an athletic stance, ready to use his large frame to push the pile forward. But with Marique, standing at 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet, he would use his small frame and try to push the pile forward, but he would just get pushed back and the play would go nowhere. So the defendants' coaches decided to modify this play. Instead of having Marique in an athletic stance, chest up, head up, ready to see the play, they told him to get down low, face and chest parallel to the ground, back completely exposed. And they even had their own name for this play, calling it the Marique Sneak. This wasn't the tush push anymore. This was their own play and their own design. And you see, the defendants' coaches developed this play without consulting any trainer to make sure that this play was safe for a 14-year-old to run. They didn't consult any other coach to make sure that this play was safe. In fact, they didn't consult any doctor to make sure that it was safe to slam a 14-year-old child at 5'2", 110 pounds, head first into the back of the offensive line. They didn't stop for 1 second to see if this was a good idea. And they drilled this play into Marique. One day at practice, they told Marique to get down low like a battering ram and lead headfirst into the back of his teammates. And when he didn't get down low enough, one of his coaches grabbed his helmet, pulled it till it was parallel to the ground, and said, "Don't make me say it again." They made sure that Marique got the message. September 9th, 2024, practice started like any other, except defendants' coaches told the team that they would be running the Marique Sneak. So Marique lined up, took the snap, and went headfirst into the back of the offensive line. He did exactly what his coaches told him to do. Then came the push. He was pushed forward by 3 of his teammates, and the defense grabbed at him trying to slow his progress until one defender jumped over the melee of bodies and landed directly on Marique's exposed back. And Marique felt that hit in his neck and in his back, like something exploding inside of his 14-year-old body. And then the play ended, and Marique lay there, unable to move. Teammates came over yelling, "Help, help!" Even trainers came, and someone even called 911, but it was all too late because that hit directly on Marique's exposed back left him paralyzed, unable to move his arms or his legs for the rest of his life. Today, we have brought to you a claim of negligence. And that means it is our burden to prove to you by a preponderance of the evidence that the defendants' coaches acted unreasonably when they had a 14-year-old child run a play in a manner that had never been done before without consulting anybody to make sure that it was safe. And we will meet that burden. To meet that burden, you will hear from the defendants' coaches that, again, they never consulted any trainer, any doctor, or any other coach to see if this was a good idea. You will also hear from Dr. Kensington Cotter, a board-certified sports medicine doctor who works at UCLA, and he will tell you that it was a dangerous idea to have a child at 14 years old, this small, this light, run a play in this manner. You will even hear from the defendant's own expert, who will tell you, Dr. Adams, who will tell you that she wouldn't recommend running the play in this way. And finally, you will hear that the tush push had been run hundreds of times, and nobody had ever sustained a neck or neck injury or been paralyzed in this way. But Marique New-Barnes was paralyzed after running the Marique sneak just 5 times. I anticipate in a moment the defense will get up here and try to convince you that Marique New-Barnes assumed the risk when he ran this play. That means it is their burden to prove to you that a 14-year-old child assumed the risks when he was forced to run a play that had never been run in that manner before. You know better. The coaches were adults. Marique New-Barnes was a child. They took a good play, a good idea, and corrupted it, turning a 14-year-old child into a human battering ram. This was their play, their idea, and that means it was their responsibility to make sure that the play was as safe as possible. And they failed. And that failure left a 14-year-old child paralyzed for the rest of his life. Hold them accountable. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to presenting our case to you today.
Right, Ms. Schaefer, you're ready to go.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
What happened to Marique New-Barnes was horrible. Horrible. A young man is paralyzed. And just because we represent Klein High School doesn't mean we're telling you you can't feel for him. But it wasn't negligence. It was football. January 2nd, 2023. Bills and Bengals, Monday Night Football. Damar Hamlin is standing 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. He's covering the wide receiver, number 85. The ball is snapped. 1 Mississippi. His man comes off the line. 2 Mississippis. His man catches the ball. 3 Mississippis. Damar goes for the tackle. 4 Mississippi. That receiver's shoulder hits Damar's chest. 5 Mississippis. Damar's ground. His heart has stopped. People think he's dead. Members of the jury, some of you may remember that night from 3 years ago, when Damar Hamlin almost died on national television. It wasn't because he made the wrong move or his coach called the wrong play. Damar Hamlin was hurt because when people play football, sometimes they get hurt. The evidence shows the same thing today. Marique New-Barnes wasn't hurt because he made the wrong move. The coach called the wrong play. Because when people play football, sometimes they get hurt. It wasn't negligence. It was football. Today, the plaintiff has the burden to prove it was negligence. To prove every element of their case more likely true than not. They'll meet that burden today for 3 reasons. Football is dangerous. This was a football play. And this was a football injury. Let's take those one at a time. The first fact will prove. Football is dangerous. You'll hear it from our witnesses, from their witnesses. Every witness will tell you. Players smash each other, tackle each other, dogpile on top of each other. Now, the plaintiff's expert will take that stand and tell you injuries, serious, devastating injuries can happen on other football fields. You'll learn Reek and his family do that. You'll see the waiver Klein High School gave their team to sign. I understand. Football involves concussions, broken bones, paralysis. Members of the jury, it's undisputed. Klein High School didn't make football dangerous. The only question is whether there was something about this play, the quarterback sneak push, the Marique sneak, that was somehow more dangerous than any other football play. That brings us to fact number 2. This is a normal football play. The plaintiff found an expert who has a theory that the quarterback sneak push is more dangerous than all other football plays. The statistics of this play, you'll learn, will prove that theory wrong. The NFL has run it hundreds of times. Colleges have run it hundreds of times. You'll learn. 0 spinal cord injuries. 0 quarterback injuries. 0. Now, the plaintiff may tell you today it's banned in other states. It's undisputed. It was legal in. And now, in their own statement, they tried to tell you that this version is different than the other version with 0 injuries. They said, well, this is high school. This is a freshman football team. A medical school will take that stand today and tell you this play is actually safer for high school because smaller players mean smaller injuries. They also said, well, Marique, he's 5'2", he's 110 pounds soaking wet, he's tiny. But notice they didn't say there's a higher injury rate for smaller players. You'll learn there's not. Then they described the play for you. They said they had Marique get lower, face and chest parallel to the ground. We'll show you visual evidence today, video evidence. It's normal for football players to get low. Normal to have their upper body parallel to the ground. Members of the jury, the evidence show this play is no more dangerous than other football plays because it's no different than other football plays. And that brings us to fact number 3. This was a tragic injury, but it was a football injury. Today, the plaintiff has to prove something called causation. That actions of Klein High School caused Marique's injury. The evidence will show this injury has happened on other plays, that it can happen on any play. Listen carefully as the plaintiff's eyewitness takes that stand and describes for you the moment Marique was injured. He was hit. He was tackled. He was dogpiled under the weight of 6 other players. An expert in spinal cord injuries take that stand and tell you any one of those impacts could explain Marique's injury. That all of those impacts happen on other football plays, routine football plays. Members of the jury, what happened to Marique is devastating. We understand that when something like this happens, it's natural to want to blame, especially when it happens to someone so young, 14. But the evidence will show this wasn't the result of the player or the coach or the school. This was the result of the inherent dangers of football. At the end of this trial, we'll ask you to find Klein High School not liable. Because it wasn't negligence. It was football. Thank you for your time.
Right here. First witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls Coach Alchemy. Good afternoon, Coach Quinn. Morning, sorry. Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
Morning, everyone. I'm Coach Alcludy.
Coach Quinn, where did you work from 2014 through 2024?
I work at Klein High.
And what was your role at Klein High School through those years?
I was the offensive coach.
And who was the head coach of Klein High School's freshman football team prior to?
That was Coach Jackie Powell.
And how long had Jackie Powell been the head coach of the freshman football team?
Since 2022.
So in 2022, Coach Powell's first season, what was the team's record that year?
We were 1-9.
And in the 2023 season, what was the team's record that year?
1-9 again.
So after 2 consecutive 1-9 seasons, how are you feeling about your job performance?
I was embarrassed.
And how are you feeling about you and the coaching staff's job security after 2 consecutive 1-9 seasons?
I was worried I was going to lose my job if we keep on performing like that.
Okay, well, let's talk about what you and Coach Powell did to try and turn the team around during the 2024 season. What play did you and the coaching staff decide to implement prior to the 2024 season?
We decided we were going to try the QB sneak or the tush push.
Your Honor, permission to for the witness to join me in the well.
Granted.
I'm showing the jury what's been previously marked and admitted as Exhibit 3. So, given that we're in Philadelphia, a lot of people might know what the tush push is, but just in case, Coach, can you explain how the tush push normally runs?
Of course, this is our offensive line right here, our defensive line up here with the triangles. This is the QB right here. We'll take the snap, and then 3 other players on the offensive team will push him forward, propelling him towards that offensive line, and hopefully picking up a yard or 2.
And where did this play originate?
With the Eagles.
So, when you and Coach Powell decided to implement this play prior to the 2024 season, did you run it exactly the way the Eagles did, or did you modify the play?
We modified the play.
Okay, so could you show for the jury how the quarterback normally runs the tush push, like when the Eagles or other NFL teams run it? Could you show us what position they're in?
Of course. So the QB will line up with the offensive line, take the snap, stay upright like this, and propel themselves forward, trying to push with the offensive line to pick up that 1 yard.
Okay, so a second ago you said Coach Powell modified the play. So how did you modify this play?
Well, we had Marique, our QB, get low, almost parallel to the ground and propel himself forward that way, trying to get a little bit more power.
So what changes did you expect Marique to make when he was running this play?
Well, like I just said, we wanted almost parallel to the ground instead of upright, so we really wanted him to get low.
Had you ever seen the Eagles or any other NFL team run the play this way?
No.
Thank you, Coach. You can return to your seat. So when you and Coach Powell came up with this play, what did you call it?
We called it the Merrick sneak.
I'm showing this has been previously offered as Exhibit 1 and admitted. What do you remember about Marique?
I remember how amazing he was. He was sweet, caring. Everyone loved him. You would expect with a quarterback on the freshman team, be a little controversy about who's going to get the role. But when he got it, everyone was overjoyed for him. Everyone was so supportive of him.
So prior to the 2024 season, how old was Marique Barnes?
He was 14,
How tall was Marique Barnes?
5'2".
How much did he weigh?
He was 110.
Is that 110 pounds?
Yes.
So is this 14-year-old, 5'2", 110-pound quarterback the player that you and Coach Powell instructed to run with his face, head, and chest parallel to the ground?
Yes.
Right, Coach Clooney, let's talk about what instructions you and Coach Powell may have given Marique to get him to run this play. What instructions did Coach Powell give Marique about how he wanted him to run this new Marine team?
Of course, we showed him how to set up and stuff like that, but we specifically instructed him to get low, like I was talking about earlier.
And each time Marique would run this play in practice or in a game, what would Coach Powell tell him?
That he was never low enough. Every single time it was lower, lower, lower.
And when Marique didn't get low enough for Coach Powell, what did he do?
He went out onto the field himself, grabbed his helmet, and forced him
Objection,
down.
Your Honor, under Rule 403, substantially more prejudicial than probative. Favor.
Yes.
Your Honor, the testimony that's coming onto the record right now is that Coach Powell physically grabbed Marique and pulled his head lower. Your Honor, this testimony is substantially more prejudicial than probative. There is little probative value to this testimony because one, it does not occur on the day that Marique was injured, and two, we don't dispute that Marique got low in the play. But it does serve to substantially prejudice the jury against Coach Powell because hearing about the physicality, jurors will have very strong reactions to that. Because the probative value is so low, but the prejudicial effect is so inflammatory and so high, this testimony should not be allowed in.
Before you respond, is Coach Powell one of the individuals that the jury should consider in terms of his mindset when determining negligence?
When determining his mindset,
Or is it your position that the jury is to consider Judge Powell's mindset when making a determination as to whether the defendant acted in negligence?
no, Your Honor, the jury should be thinking about the reasonableness and actually should be thinking about the reasonableness at the time of the injury. This doesn't occur at the time of the injury, therefore it's not probative to what actually occurred.
Response?
I mean, our argument is that this play, and specifically the way it was run, is what caused Marique Barnes' injury. Coach Powell told Marique repeatedly to get low on this play. And our argument is that exact position that he was put in, because Coach Powell told him that repeatedly, is what caused this injury. So there's great probative value to this testimony, that this is the way they drilled this play into Marique's head. This is the way they wanted him to run it.
May I respond to that?
Well, he wasn't finished.
We're also not attacking Coach Powell's character with this. All we're showing is how important it was to them that Marique Barnes got as low as they wanted him to get.
May I respond now?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor, as opposing counsel said, they told Marique to get lower and they're free to go into that type of testimony because there was suitable alternative testimony to hearing this physicality. The counsel should not be allowed to talk about this because there's little probative value to hearing about this other instance when we already know he was told to get low, and the prejudicial effect is so high for this type of testimony.
All right, I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes.
You may continue, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, so Powell had gotten him, pushed his helmet down towards the ground, and told him he needed to get his body flat.
Thank you, Coach. All right, let's talk about the day that Marique Barnes was paralyzed. What day was that?
That was September 17th.
Was that September 9th?
Yes, my apologies.
And what was the team doing that day?
We were just practicing that day. It wasn't a game or anything.
How many times did you run the Marique sneak in practice that day?
That was the first and only time we ran that play that day. he got low, exactly like we had been telling him, and he pushed forward with his pushing from behind, and he went right into the offensive line.
So you said he went right into the offensive line. What position was his head in when he went right into the offensive line?
It was his helmet that pushed right into the back of the offensive.
Okay, so Marique is being pushed from behind and his helmet runs right into the back of the offensive lineman. What happened next?
Well, his teammates are still pushing him from behind, and all of a sudden somebody from the defensive line jumps over and lands on him.
Could you show the jury where that defensive player landed on Marique?
Yeah, it was right about here where his neck met his spine.
So after this player jumps over the line and hits Marique on the back, what happened next?
He got piled on top of.
So after this dog pile happens, what happens after that?
Well, everyone starts to get up, but not Marie.
So Marique is there, laying there. What did you hear?
I heard a couple players on the team calling for help.
What did you do?
I started running out. I wanted to see what happened, make sure everyone was okay.
So what did you see when you got to Marique?
I saw him just lying there on the ground, not moving.
Was he breathing?
He was.
Did you say anything to him?
I tried to get him to talk to me, but I couldn't.
So what did you do after that?
I called for 911 and I didn't know what else to do, but try and get somebody who might actually be able to help.
Okay, Coach Clooney. Earlier you said that you had seen the Eagles and maybe other NFL teams run this play. How many times had you seen them run this play in the NFL?
Dozens.
And in all the times you had seen them run this play in the NFL, had you ever seen a quarterback suffer a serious injury?
No.
How many times did your team run the sneak, this modified version of prior to Marique New Barnes being paralyzed?
Maybe 5 times total.
Let's finish up by talking about some of your responsibilities as a coach. You understand that in football, injuries are common.
Objection, bleeding.
I'll rephrase. In football, how common are injuries?
They're common.
So what is your responsibility as a coach to ensure that the risk is as low as possible?
Well, there's always going to be a risk, but we want to minimize it. We want to make the game as safe as possible.
Given that, prior to running this Marique sneak, this modified version of the tush push, did you ever check with an athletic trainer to make sure this play was as safe as possible for your freshman quarterback?
No.
Did you ever check with your athletic director to make sure this play was as safe as possible for a freshman quarterback?
No.
Did you ever check with the varsity coach of the high school football team?
No.
Did you ever check with the doctor?
No.
As far as you know, did you or any other member of the coaching staff ever check with anyone to make sure this modified version of the tush push, this Marique sneak, this new play, was as safe as possible?
No.
No further questions.
Morning, Mr. Fleming.
Morning.
Football is a contact sport. Yes,
Yes.
it's a violent sport.
It can be.
Well, it's so violent, players have to wear pads.
Sure.
They have to wear helmets.
Right.
Players can run into each other
They can.
at full speed,
Sometimes, yeah.
any play.
I get that.
When a guy has the ball in football, players are allowed to grab him,
Right,
jump on him,
sure,
tackle him
the goal,
to the ground
also the goal.
every play.
Sure, that's how you stop the play.
You've watched a lot of NFL football, right?
I have,
You've seen players get hurt.
of course,
You've seen a player get hurt every single game.
sure, but injuries vary in how severe they are.
But that's, yes, every single game you've watched, you've seen players get hurt.
Yeah, just about.
So let's talk about whether the plaintiff understood the risks, what he was signing up for. I'm showing the opposing counsel exhibit 2. May I approach the witness? Exhibit 2 is the waiver that football players have to sign to play at Klein.
Yeah,
It was signed by Marie.
that looks like a signature.
It was signed by his parent.
Yes,
This is a fair and accurate copy of the waiver.
looks like it.
Why don't we move exhibit 2 into evidence?
Any objection?
No objection.
Submitted.
Oh, this waiver has to be signed by every player before they can play,
Correct.
regardless of what plays they're going to run.
Sure, they often don't know what plays they're gonna run before they sign it.
Right, in this waiver, it says, I understand that participation in football involves inherent risks of physical injury.
Yes, it says that.
And then it lists some of those dangers.
Right,
It lists concussions,
yes,
broken bones,
yep,
paralysis,
yes,
death.
yes,
Reek signed this waiver before he ever got injured.
that's right.
My approach to retrieve. I want to talk now about whether the QB sneak is unsafe. Now, like you said on direct examination, you've seen the QB sneak push run at the pro level.
Yes,
You've seen the Eagles run.
of course, they made it famous.
Exactly, the brotherly shove.
Right,
You've never seen Jalen Hurts get hurt running the QB sneak push.
No.
You've never seen a quarterback at any level get hurt running the QB sneak push.
no,
Exhibit 3, this is the way that Klein ran the QB sneak push.
correct.
You'd agree it's nearly identical to the way the Eagles run it.
The setup is
Right, the formation, nearly identical.
nearly,
The blocking schemes, identical.
or why try and change what the Eagles are doing?
Right, you ran this game, or ran this play in a game.
We did,
You ran this in a game, the refs, they didn't stop the game.
no,
They didn't throw a penalty flag.
no,
Right, because this play was legal when you ran it.
correct,
It was allowed in Pennsylvania.
yes,
So let's talk about whether Marik's injury had anything to do with calling a push play. Marik, he was hurt on September 9th.
that's correct.
You saw the play.
I did,
Marik, he was running with the ball.
Yeah.
That's not unique to a sneak push.
not necessarily.
Marik was tackled by a defender.
Kind of got jumped on top of, not necessarily tackled, but
We'll get there, but a defender came out, tackled him, right?
yeah, right over the offensive line.
The player with the ball getting tackled by a defender, that's not unique to a QB sneak push.
No,
Players then jump on top of him.
yes,
He was under the weight of 6 different people.
correct,
Sort of dog piles like that. That's not unique to a QB sneak push.
not necessarily.
Sort of the first time you notice Maurice was injured was after he had the weight of 6 players on top of him.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
You drive?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor. Coach Clooney, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit 2. You just heard a lot about this from the defense. Could you read the portion that I've underlined there of exhibit 2?
Objection, Your Honor, to leading, and also could I see the portion that he's reading? Again. Your Honor, before this witness reads it, I'd like to make an objection to the remainder of the related statement of Rule 106. May be heard.
Sure.
The portion that opposing counsel is trying to read is half of a sentence it ends. I would just like the witness to be able to read the rest of the sentence that comes with it.
What exactly were you intending for him to read?
Yeah, I acknowledge that all reasonable precautions will be taken to ensure safety. The full sentence, I acknowledge that all reasonable precautions will be taken to ensure safety, but I accept the risks associated with participation in this contact sport.
So you have no problem having him read the full sentence, okay? Sustain.
If you could go ahead and read that full sentence for us.
Yes, I acknowledge that all reasonable precautions will be taken to ensure safety, but I accept the risks associated with participation in this contact sport. Thank you.
So let me ask you this, Coach Clooney. As far as you know, did the coaching staff at Klein High School take any precautions to ensure the safety of this play?
No.
No further questions.
No recross, Your Honor.
I can make excuse me. Make the you call your settings.
At this time, plaintiff calls Dr. Kensington Cotter to the stand. Your Honor, permission to set up the courtroom?
Sorry, Council, can you just angle it a little bit so I,
Yes, Your Honor. Apologize.
thank you.
This is good.
Yes.
Good morning, Dr. Cotter. If you could, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, my name is Dr. Kensington Cotter.
Cotter, what is it that you do for a living?
I am an attending physician at Cedars-Sinai, specializing in sports medicine. So consult with the UCLA football team, and I work at UCLA Medical School
And Dr. Cotter, how long have you been doing this?
for a decade.
And do you work with spinal fractures and spinal cord injuries in particular?
I do. I've treated hundreds of patients.
What percentage of your patients are children?
About 10% of my total patients are children under 18 years.
Dr. Cotter, are you part of any professional organizations related to sports medicine?
I am. I'm a part of the American College of Sports Medicine and a few other presidents.
Dr. Cotter, are you board certified in sports medicine?
I am.
Before we go any further, are you being paid for your time in this case today?
Yes, I am.
And how much are you being paid, Dr. Cotter?
I'm being paid $500 an hour to prepare to testify and $1,000 to testify.
Now that the jury has gotten to know you a little bit more, let's talk about your work in this case. What was it that you were asked to do here today?
So I was asked to look at whether this modified version which defendants coaches ran, whether that play was unreasonably dangerous.
What did you review in preparation for this case today?
I reviewed the depositions given by Coach Powell, Coach Clooney. I read Dr. Omega Adams' report and read the deposition as well. I also looked at the facts, the exhibits, and stipulations in this case.
Dr. Cotter, are those the kinds of materials reasonably and customarily relied upon by experts in your field?
They were.
Without telling us your opinions yet on this case, did you form any?
I did.
Did you form those opinions to a reasonable degree of medical and professional certainty?
Absolutely. I wouldn't give my opinion otherwise.
Your Honor, at this time, we tender the witness as an expert in sports medicine and in particular spinal cord injuries related to sports.
Any objection?
We have none, Your Honor.
Dr. Cotter, if you could, please let the jury know what your opinion was on this case.
So after reviewing all the materials, my opinion is that the modified version of the tush push run by the defendant's coaches was unreasonably dangerous.
Okay, Dr. Cotter, so let's talk a little bit about how the defendant's coaches modified this tush push. Your Honor, may the defendant or may the witness join me in the well?
Yes.
Dr. Cotter, could you, using the black marker, could you explain to the jury how the tush push is normally run in the NFL?
Sure. Don't judge my heart here, but in the NFL, a quarterback would run the tush push more upright. So they would be running with their chest up in an athletic stance, using their big stature, their tall frame to push that line forward, push the pile forward with their legs in more of an upright athletic position.
Dr. Cotter, could you please label that drawing tush push?
Sure.
How many times had this play been run prior to the 2024 season?
This play had been run hundreds of times since then.
Dr. Cotter, was it a successful play?
It was very successful of those couple yards.
But was this the play that the defendant's coaches had Marie Newbarnes run on September 9th?
No, the coaches at the high school modified this version of the play.
Dr. Cotter, if you would for the jury, please explain how the defendant's coaches modified this play.
Sure, so in the defendant's coach's version, what we have is the quarterback running with their head and chest parallel to the ground, more like this, where their back is completely exposed as they're running.
Dr. Cotter, could you please label that Marie sneak? Sure. Now, Dr. Cotter, using this red marker, could you please explain where the forces are applied in the normal tush push?
So in the normal tush push, when the quarterback's running with their head and chest up, they're getting forces applied directly to the front, like in their head and chest area, running in that athletic stance.
Dr. Cotter, could you now describe where the forces are applied in the Marie sneak?
So with Marie, the way he was running it, he's going to have forces applied directly to his head. And then when the people came over the line from the top, they would come down on his exposed spine.
Dr. Cotter, could you please explain to the jury why is this so dangerous?
Sure. So from a sports medicine perspective, you have to look at where is the pressure coming. So in this version of the play, Marie is getting, when he runs his head into the offensive line, he's getting pressure on his head, and that creates that pressure point from the top. Then his teammates are pushing him from behind, and that's creating pressure from behind. So when you have that pressure from behind, pressure from the front, you're compressing the spine. You're giving it no room to move. It's coming in like this. So when the defenders jump over the line of scrimmage and land right on that exposed spine that has nowhere else to go, that increases the likelihood that that hit will fracture the spine.
Thank you, Dr. Cotter. You may take this. Dr. Cotter, is there anything about high school freshmen that makes them more susceptible to this kind of injury?
There is. When we look at the size and maturity of high school freshmen, really the younger you get, the less developed your body is and the more likelihood that you're at a risk of injury.
And what about Marie specifically? Is there anything that made him more susceptible to this kind of injury?
We talked about how Marie is really small. He's only 5'2", 110 pounds. So the smaller you are, the younger you are, the more at risk.
Dr. Cotter, based on your review of this case, the defendant coaches consult anybody to make sure that running the plan this way was safe.
Not that I saw.
Dr. Potter, if the defendant coaches had asked you and if you thought that this play was safe to run for Marie Barnes, what would you have told them?
No, I would have told them no for all of those same reasons.
No further questions, Your Honor.
May I proceed? Good morning, Dr. Potter.
Good morning.
You would agree. People can get injured playing football.
It's possible, yes.
People can get injured playing football even when players follow the rules.
Yes.
Even when coaches try to be safe.
Yeah, that's always possible.
And you're an expert in sports medicine.
I am.
You work with the UCLA football team.
I do.
Even UCLA players can get hurt playing football.
Yes.
That's because no amount of sports medicine can prevent all injuries.
No, but I think there's things that can be done that increase the likelihood of injury.
But in sports medicine, it can't stop all injuries in football.
No, it's not possible to stop all injuries.
And not just any injuries, serious injuries can happen in football.
It's possible.
And you told us on direct that Marique suffered a spinal cord injury during a sneak push.
He did. He suffered it during the Marie sneak.
The spinal cord injuries can happen on other football plays.
They can't.
Spinal cord injuries can happen on any football play.
It's possible.
Let's talk about whether the sneak push is more dangerous than any other football play. You think the way Coach Powell ran the Marie sneak was more dangerous than other plays?
Yes, having Marie put his head and chest parallel to the ground creates that compression of the spine.
Doctor, you think every quarterback sneak push is unsafe?
Well, I mean, I think there's a distinction. There's the tush push that's run in the NFL, then there's the Marie sneak, and there's a risk on every play, yes.
It's your testimony, every quarterback sneak push is unsafe.
Yes.
The injury history of the sneak push, it contradicts your conclusion.
I don't understand.
Well, as part of your review today, you watched a video of the Eagles running the quarterback sneak push.
I did, yes.
Their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, wasn't injured on that play.
No, but they were running the tush push, not this modified version.
All right, back to the NFL. When they ran it at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts wasn't injured.
Running the tush push, yes.
You watched the Giants run the quarterback sneak.
The tush push, yes.
And man, when you watch the Giants run this play, their quarterback, Daniel Jones, he wasn't injured either.
No, it's not.
You also looked into the injury statistics of this play.
Yes.
NFL teams have run it hundreds of times.
They run the tush push hundreds of times, yes.
You found no injuries to the quarterback's spinal cord.
Not while running the tush push, no.
You found no injuries to a quarterback at all.
No, not while running the tush push.
Then you looked into colleges,
Correct, also running the tush push.
and they've run it hundreds of times.
They have.
You found no injuries to a quarterback's spinal cord,
Nope.
no injuries to a quarterback at all.
Nope, all running the tush push.
Well, let's talk about your conclusion that the way Coach Powell ran this was more dangerous. You drew us that diagram and you talked about pressure. That would be a force.
It is, yes.
Forces can be measured.
Yes.
You didn't measure it.
No, I mean, force is a fundamental physics concept. There's force everywhere all at once, so I don't know that you can necessarily directly apply that.
Well, ma'am, you agree force can be measured.
It can.
And in this case, you didn't measure it.
No, I can't be measuring the force of a football play at high school football practice, I mean, every second of every day.
So you can't tell us how much force was put on Marique in this play?
No.
Talk about whether Marique's injury was actually the cause of the normal play. You weren't present on the night,
No, I was not.
but you read about that.
Yes.
You know Marique was hit by defensive players,
I know that he ran into the line, yes.
multiple defensive players.
Yes, when they came over the top.
One of the players jumped on him.
That's correct.
He was tackled to the ground.
Yes.
He was dogpiled.
Yes, there's,
There were 6 other players on top of him.
yes.
Doctor, any of those impacts, getting hit, getting tackled, getting dogpiled, they can happen on other football players.
They can.
Any of those impacts can cause injury.
It's always possible, yes.
You didn't conclude exactly which of those impacts caused Marik's injury.
No, I didn't.
Thank you for your time. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Rebecca?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Cotter, do you need to measure the amount of force to know whether or not it increased the likelihood of injury?
No, I can just look at the way that this play was run, the way it was designed, and the way it was instructed to know that that increased the likelihood.
And Dr. Cotter, why was there no data to show you whether or not this play was unsafe in the way that they ran it?
Well, first of all, the tush push that had been run hundreds of times was not the same play. This play resulted in an injury to Marik after only 5 times of being run. So there's no data because of that. Also, this play was banned in 48 other states and was set to be banned in this state this year.
And Dr. Cotter, what did you form your opinion around today?
The Marik sneak, the modified version of the tush push.
Thank you, Dr. Cotter. Your Honor, at this time, may I preserve the demonstrative from earlier for closing?
Do we have any?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, yes,
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
thank you.
Your Honor, before we take a brief recess before the defense case in chief, we would like to make a mid-trial motion.
Okay, were you about to say something then?
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff has not rested yet. We would like to call Marik Barnes by deposition. The parties have stipulated that Marik Barnes is unfortunately unable to testify at trial. However, we've agreed with the defense to read certain sections of his deposition.
Is that what you were about to bring my attention?
I was a bit proactive there, I apologize, but we have agreed for this reading.
Okay. All right, Mr. Babcock, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. From the deposition of Marik Barnes, question, how old are you? Answer, I just turned 15. Question, do you go to school? Answer, in August, I started Falkenstein High School. I have to start freshman year over again. Question, what experience did you have playing football when you got to Klein? Answer, I played flag football league as a 5th and 6th grader. Went to 2 years of football summer camp and played Pop Warner tackle football in 7th and 8th grades. Question, what happened when you practiced the QB sneak push on September 9th? Answer, I ran the play just like Coach Powell told me. I felt multiple players hitting on my neck and back. Felt a jolt down my spine like an explosion. I couldn't move my arms or legs. Our trainer and coaches rushed to the field. An ambulance took me to the hospital. Question, when you signed Exhibit 2 and decided to play high school football, what injury risks did you think you were facing? Answer, it's football, so I knew there could be injuries, obviously. I know some players have gotten hurt really bad, but I figured if I practiced, played smart, and listened to my coaches, I'd be okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Assuming the plaintiff has rested, we would like to make a mid-trial motion.
Are you resting?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, we move for judgment as a matter of law under Rule 50 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Even under the light most favorable to the non-moving party, no reasonable juror could find that the plaintiff has met their burden. Specifically, the plaintiff has failed to prove causation. A moment ago on cross-examination, the plaintiff's expert, Dr. Cotter, admitted that she did not conclude exactly which impact caused Marik's injury. Both of the plaintiff's witnesses today have testified to several elements of this play that are entirely normal in the game of football. Without evidence of which of those normal parts caused this injury, the plaintiff has not proven causation. Accordingly, we seek judgment.
Your Honor, that matter of law would be inappropriate at this time. The plaintiff has put on evidence that no other team has ever run this play in this way. This was a play that was specifically designed for Marie New Barnes. It was a play that no other football team had ever run. We've put on evidence that the tush push, this original play that bases this off, has been run hundreds of times. Yet only after 5 times running this modified version of the play, the one that the coaches implemented, Marie New Barnes was paralyzed. We've just heard from Dr. Cotter, who testified how this injury could happen, that there was force being applied to the back of Marie New Barnes because he was being pushed and to his head, such that any hit to his spine from above, whatever hit that was, could paralyze his spine. We have therefore provided evidence of both possible negligence by the defendants and causation, and therefore judgment as a matter of law would be inappropriate.
Mr. Babcock, do you see a legally significant difference between the possibility that the injury occurred before the dog pile, as it's been referred to, or only after the dog pile began?
No, Your Honor. Regardless, the fact is that this play is designed, the way that they had Marie New Barnes running with his face, neck, and chest parallel to the ground is what put him in this position in the first place. This is not a normal football play that most teams run. This is not part of the game. This is something that they designed that was completely new, that we've heard Coach Clooney testify has never been done. And so regardless of what hit caused it, the fact is he was put in that position because the defendants put him there. And therefore, it is entirely possible, and we think likely, that the defendant's negligence is what caused Marie New Barnes' injury.
Ms. Shaver, can you speak to my question?
Yes, Your Honor, there is a significant legal difference in Marie potentially being injured after the dog pile or before. The elements of this play before that dog pile, including that dog pile, happen in routine football plays. If the plaintiff can't point to one aspect of this play in motion that was unreasonable, they haven't proven negligence. Regarding causation, chronology is not causation. They can point to this play and say they pulled it. That doesn't mean it caused the injury. There is a difference. We ask for motion or for judgment as a matter of law.
All right. I do think it's an interesting legal issue, and I tend to agree with you, Ms. Schaefer, but I don't think this quite rises to the level of a directed verdict, so we not that motion. We'll take a recess. It's 10:17. How much time do you want?
Just, 5 minutes would be fine.
Quick recess, 5 minutes.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it's really, I don't think that part matters.
You're watching this, it's just kind of bizarre, and staring at the attorney,
Right.
even when the witness is.
Look like there's something to know about it.
Right.
It is funny. Just grab up.
Before we start for the jurors, if you don't have a lot of experience with the ballot and the way it's formatted, especially the conversion, just note that for the second half of the case, the defense direct is actually below the plaintiff cross. So first you're doing is that defense direct, even though it's row. All right, Spencer, are you ready to call your first witness?
We are, Your Honor. The defense calls Jackie Powell.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jack Powell.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Powell?
I'm the head coach of Clyde High School's freshman football team.
How long have you been head coach?
For about 3 or 4 years now. Prior to that, I'm the defensive coordinator since 2016.
I'm going to cut to the chase, Coach Powell. Whose decision was it to run the quarterback sneak push last season?
Who's mine?
Do you agree with the plaintiff that someone can get hurt on that play?
I did. Yeah.
Why would you run a play where someone can get hurt?
Well, this is football. In every play we run, someone can get hurt.
Let's talk about what makes football so dangerous. Does Klein High School play tackle or flag football?
It's tackle football.
How much contact is there in tackle football?
It's full contact. People are running into each other at full speed, tackling each other to the ground, that kind of thing.
Can players tackle the quarterback?
Yeah, they can.
How hard can they hit the quarterback?
Just as hard as any other player.
Your Honor, I'm publishing to the jury what's already in evidence as Exhibit 1. Coach Powell, why do players wear pads and helmets?
Well, it's for safety. It's a violent game.
Coach, we heard today that you referred to Marique, your quarterback season, as a battering ram. Is that true?
It is, yeah.
What other language have you used regarding this play?
We've referred to Marique as a spear, a battering ram, basically just trying to get across the idea that he has to get through the defensive line.
Why would you use such violent language?
Like I mentioned before, it's a violent game. So as the coach, when I'm explaining different plays, how they work, my players, I have to make that clear.
Well, let's talk about whether your players understood those risks. Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel what's already in evidence as Exhibit 2. May I approach Coach Powell with the same?
You may.
Coach Powell, could you read the title of this document?
Sure. This is the Thomas R. Klein High School Football Participation Waiver and Release of Liability.
And under the section titled Acknowledgement of Risk, what are the specific risks listed there?
It says there's risks of physical injury, including but not limited to concussions, broken bones, sprains, or in rare cases, paralysis or death.
Who signed this waiver?
It was both Marique and his parent, Sydney.
And did Marique and his parent sign this waiver before or after he was injured?
Before.
Put that to the side. Let's talk about whether the Marique sneak was any more dangerous than any other football play. Did you invent the quarterback sneak push?
No, I didn't.
Where did you get the idea?
The NFL.
About how many times would you say have you seen it run by the NFL?
Hundreds. I'm an Eagles fan, so I see it every Sunday.
And in those hundreds of times, how many quarterback injuries have you seen on that play?
0. The quarterback's never gotten hurt in that NFL running that play.
Coach Powell, did you ever talk to your fellow coaches about this play?
I did, yeah. I had a conversation with Al Clooney about it, our offensive coordinator.
And does your team have a medical trainer on staff?
We do.
At any point when you brought this to your team, did your other coaches or your medical trainer tell you it would be unsafe?
No.
Right, well, I want to compare how you ran this play to how the NFL runs it with 0 injuries. Your Honor, permission to have Coach Powell join me in the well to look at Exhibit 3?
Yeah.
Coach Powell? Coach, using this diagram, could you explain how the NFL runs this play?
Sure. So this is a play that we usually use in short yardage situations when the team has to gain just 1 or 2 yards for a first down or a touchdown. The way it works is we have the quarterback line up right under center, and when he takes the snap, he's supposed to dive for 1 or 2 yards in between the center and the left guard, being pushed by 2 tight ends and a running back behind him to give him extra momentum.
Well, using this diagram, could you explain how you ran the quarterback sneak push?
Well, it's the exact same. We had Marik under center, took the snap, and then was pushed by 2 tight ends at running back in between the center and the left guard to get that 1 or 2 yards.
Were there any differences with how you ran this play versus the NFL?
Just one. It was positioning that Marik was in.
What exactly did you tell Marie?
Well, usually in the NFL, quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts would stay a little bit more upright with their chest and head up because they have a lot more strength to go push themselves forward. I told Marik that he should instead get a little bit lower to the ground so he could dive forward for that 1 yard.
Now, is getting low like that, is that unique to the quarterback sneak push?
No, we have players get low on every play, especially on the offensive line.
All right, let's take a look at that. You can take your seat. Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel what's already in evidence as Exhibit 11. This is Exhibit 13. May I approach Coach Powell?
Yeah.
Coach Powell, I have an identical iPad with the same play right here. Could you tell us who's the blue team?
That's the New York Giants.
And are the New York Giants in blue, are they an offense or defense?
They're an offense.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't believe this evidence has actually been admitted yet. We didn't pre-admit this exhibit.
Are you laying the foundation for offering any evidence?
Your Honor, my understanding was that in pretrial today, we pre-admitted Exhibit 11.
This is 11?
It is.
That is what was
Okay.
said outside. All right.
So Coach Powell, you said that the blue Giants here in this image, they're on the offense. Would you go ahead and describe the body position of those blue offensive players?
Sure, like I mentioned before, especially on the offensive line, you can see all the players here are low to the ground, parallel.
Thank you. You can put that to the side. Coach, in your experience, is it unusual for a high school team to run the same play as the NFL?
No,
And when you ran this play, was it against any league rules?
no, it's completely legal in Pennsylvania.
But I'd like to talk about whether Marik's injury was the result of your play call. How many times did you run Marik's knee?
In total,
In those first 4 times, did Marik ever appear injured?
No.
In those first 4 times, did he ever tell you he was injured?
no, he never did.
When was the 5th time?
The 5th time was on September 9th.
Tell us what happened.
Well, we were practicing like any other day, and about an hour into practice, we decided we were going to practice short yardage situations. So I had the players line up to do the Marik sneak, and they ran it perfectly. But then after the play, Marik didn't get up.
When was the first time you noticed Marik was injured?
After the play,
And when you found him after the play, how many other players were on top of him?
there were about 5, 6, all in a dog pile on top.
Is a dog pile like that of 5 or 6 players unique to the quarterback sneak push?
No, it happens in a lot of places.
And is it common for the player with the ball to end up at the bottom of a dog pile like that?
Sure. Especially in inside run situations.
Thank you for your time today, Coach Powell. Your Honor, we have nothing further. Permission to retrieve the exhibits.
You may.
Thank you.
Morning, Coach Powell.
More.
Let's start by talking about some things I think we can agree on. As the head coach of the freshman high school football team at Klein High School, you are coaching the youngest players in Klein High School.
That's correct. Freshman.
Some as young as 14 years old.
That's correct.
Kids who are in their first year of high school football.
Freshman. Yes.
And you would agree that your primary job as coach of the freshman team at Klein High School is to teach those players,
Yes. Coach.
to develop them,
That's correct.
to make them better.
Yes.
You also talk a lot about how football is dangerous.
That's true.
Even clean plays can result in catastrophic injuries.
That's entirely true. Yes.
And so, as coach of the freshman high school football team at Klein High School, it's your job to make sure that the game is as safe as possible.
It's my job to make sure the game goes as well as possible as coach.
And you would agree with me that those concerns, teaching your players, developing them, coaching them, like you said, and making sure the game is as safe as possible, are more important than winning.
You asked that again?
Yes, you would agree that coaching your players and making sure they're as safe as possible are more important concerns than winning.
I believe they go hand in hand. We coach, develop our players so that we can win games.
You would agree those things should not be at odds, that you shouldn't prioritize winning or safety.
No, absolutely not. Like I mentioned, they go hand in hand.
So let's talk about the prep you did for 2024. In the 2022 season, your first season as head coach, your team went 1-9.
That's correct.
And in the 2023, 1-9 again.
That's true.
It's 20 games and just 2 wins.
Your math's right on that one.
And that was embarrassing.
It's certainly not a good thing. One games.
You felt like your job was on the line.
That's true. As head coach, at least.
So let's talk about how you prepared for the 2024 season. Prior to the 2024 season, you decided to run the tush push.
That's true.
You'd seen Eagles and other NFL teams run that play.
Hundreds of times. They run it in college as well.
And every time you had seen the teams in the NFL run it, they would run it with their chest and head up in an athletic stance.
That's correct.
But you didn't run the play that way.
No, like I mentioned earlier, we decided to modify it slightly so that Marine could get that 1 yard.
So it's safe to say you had your own version of the tush push.
Well, I wouldn't call it a separate version of the play. Like I mentioned, we ran it the exact same way. It was just that Murray was in a slightly different position.
You had that position in this case, correct?
I did.
You were there.
Yes.
I was there.
I believe you were. Yes.
Your attorney was there.
That's correct.
And you swore to tell the truth.
I did. Yes.
Whole truth.
That's correct.
Nothing but.
That's the I thought.
And the jury can rely on the answers that you gave to those questions in that deposition.
Not exactly in terms of that. I think.
So you're saying that they can't rely on the answers that you gave in your deposition?
Counselor, I'm not exactly familiar with the legal process. I'm not exactly sure.
Were you telling the truth in your deposition?
Yes.
Okay. That's page 3, lines 3. May I personal witness, Your Honor? Thank you. I'm showing you your deposition, page 3, lines 7 through 9. Okay, follow along with me so you make sure I'm reading this accurately. About an hour of practice, I gathered the offensive field. I explained how we'd be running our own version of the QB sneak push called the Marine Sneak. I explained to each player exactly what I wanted them to do on the play, then we ran it 3 times. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
So it's fair to say you had your own version of the Marine Sneak, or of the tush push, and you called that the Marine Sneak.
That's true, yes.
And you had never seen another high school team run this play.
Me personally, no, I haven't.
As far as you knew, you were the first.
I believe so.
You were pioneers.
We were the first high school team to run.
So let's talk about any preparation you did in order to make sure this play was as safe as possible. You didn't talk to anyone to make sure this play was as safe as possible for your freshman players, did you?
No, I just talked to my coaching staff about
Didn't talk to the athletic director?
it. No,
Didn't talk to the varsity coach?
nope,
Now, you've known Dr. Megan Adams, who's about to testify in this case, since 2019.
that's true.
In fact, the two of you are good friends.
That's correct.
But you didn't even call your good friend, Dr. Omega Adams, to see if this play is as safe as possible for your young freshman players.
No, I didn't. All the plays that we decided to run as a team, it's a decision between me and my coaching staff.
According to you, you didn't need to ask anyone whether this play was safe.
I didn't believe it.
Because according to you, that would have been excessive.
That's correct.
So let's talk about what happened when you ran this play without checking with anyone to make sure it was as safe as possible. Earlier, you said you've seen NFL teams run the tush push
That's true.
hundreds of times.
That's correct.
And in all the times you had seen them run this play, including the time that opposing counsel just showed you, you had never seen a quarterback suffer a serious injury running this play.
That's true. It's been run hundreds of times, but I've never seen anyone get injured.
But when you called this new version of the tush push, the Marik sneak, Marik Nubarns ran that play only 5 times before he was completely paralyzed.
That's true.
And that was running a play you designed, a play you named, and a play you called.
Well, it was the Eagles that originally designed it, but yes, it was the play that I called.
No other questions.
Correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Coach Powell, plaintiff's counsel just asked you about a new version of the quarterback sneak push that you ran. Is the formation of the Marik sneak different than the quarterback sneak push?
No, it's identical.
Is the blocking scheme of the Marik sneak different than the quarterback sneak push?
No, it's completely the same.
Is the player who gets snapped the ball the same in the Marik sneak as the quarterback sneak push?
It is, yeah.
And about who you consulted with, how many other coaches do you have for just the freshman team?
There's 3 of us. It's myself, it was Al Clooney that year, and then our defensive coordinator as well.
And do you have a medical trainer for the school or for just your team?
Our team has a medical trainer. It's Kate Don.
When you ran the Marik sneak last season, did you consult fellow staff before running?
I had conversations with everyone in my coaching staff as well as the player.
Thank you for your time, Coach Powell.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Yeah, thank you. Just a second ago, you testified that most of the tush push and the Marik sneak were the same, correct?
I did.
But the only player that did anything different in the tush push and the Marik sneak was Marik Nubarns, correct?
If you're talking about the slight change in positioning, then that's true.
And Marik Nubarns was paralyzed after running the Marik sneak, correct?
He was on September 9th.
No further question.
May Coach Powell wait.
Okay.
Your Honor, before we call our next witness, we would like to read a portion of Marie Lawrence's deposition onto the record. I can give you a moment. Question. When you signed Exhibit 2 and decided to play high school football, what injury risks did you think you were facing? Answer. It's football, so I knew there could be injuries, obviously. I know some players have gotten hurt really bad, but I figured if I practiced, play smart, and listen to my coaches, I'd be okay. Nothing further.
Right, I'm saying this.
The defense calls Dr. Omega Adams. May I proceed? Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good morning, I'm Dr. Adams.
What do you do?
I'm a neurosurgeon. I specialize in spinal surgery.
How are you involved in this case?
I want to answer two questions. First, from a medical perspective, was Klein's design of the play any more dangerous than other football plays? And second, did the choice of the play cause Marique's injury?
Before we get to your answers to those questions, I want the jury to hear about your credentials. What degrees do you hold?
I have a bachelor's in biology from Samford University, and I received my medical degree from the University of Alabama.
Are you board certified?
Yes, in brain surgery and spinal cord surgery.
How many years of experience do you have with spinal injuries?
24 years.
Can you summarize your professional experience with spinal cord injuries?
Sure. As an attending physician, I've operated on over 1,000 patients with spinal cord injuries. And as a consultant, I've offered my opinion in cases that involve spinal cord injuries.
You mentioned your consulting work. Which sites have you consulted for?
I've had 120 cases, all with defense.
How much do you know about football?
Well, I'm from Alabama, so I'm pretty much legally required to spend every Saturday watching college football.
How much experience do you have with spinal cord injuries from football?
I've operated on 9 patients who suffered spinal cord injuries while playing.
I want to turn now to how you formed your conclusions. What information did you rely on?
I relied on all the documents and exhibits in this case, including the depositions, and I also conducted my own research into injury rates for the quarterback sneak push.
Is it typical for experts in your field to rely on that type of information?
Yes, it is.
What method did you use?
I compared Klein's version of the play to what we know about the causes of spinal cord injuries.
I want to be transparent. Do you have a personal connection with anyone in this case?
Yes, Mr. Powell was my patient, and we've since become good friends.
How did that affect your approach to this case?
It did.
Were you able to reach your conclusion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, we offer Dr. Adams as an expert in spinal cord injuries.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
So let's turn to those questions that you mentioned. Was the Marique sneak any more dangerous than any other football play?
No. In fact, it was safer than most other football plays.
Did the choice of play cause Marique's injury?
No.
But let's start with your answer to that first question, that the sneak was safer than other plays. Why are you comparing it with other plays?
Well, every football play has a risk of injury. I wanted to see if the way the defendant designed the play increased that risk of injury.
What makes the Marique sneak safer?
Well, the Marique sneak, like any quarterback sneak push, applies less force along the player's spines.
You and Dr. Cotter came to very different conclusions on this. Wow.
Well, Dr. Cotter omitted one of the most important variables.
What do you mean?
Dr. Cotter focused solely on the angle of the quarterback's spine. but you also have to consider the speed of the impact. If someone bumps into you, that's a lot less force than if someone runs into you. That's why the highest impact plays are typically kickoffs and open field tackles. Players run and have time to build up speed.
How does speed factor into the Marine sneak?
So during the Marine sneak, players are bunched together really close. And because of that, there's no space or time for them to build speed. Less speed, less force, less dangerous.
You mentioned before that you researched the injury statistics for the quarterback sneak push. At what level?
At the high school, college, and NFL levels.
Earlier, the plaintiff mentioned that Coach Powell didn't research this. If he had, what would the injury rates have shown for injuries to quarterbacks?
0. There were 0 quarterbacks who suffered a spinal cord injury. There were quarterbacks who suffered any kind of injury.
Doctor, I want to push back. How do you respond to the claim that this play is less safe for high schoolers?
It's the opposite. High school players are smaller than NFL quarterbacks, so the forces that they create are much smaller.
How do you respond to the claim that this play was less safe for someone of Marique's size?
Well, you'll notice that Dr. Cotter didn't cite any data to support that conclusion. That's because there is none. In fact, Marique's small size would have actually made this play safer for him compared to other quarterbacks because he creates and absorbs less force than a larger quarterback.
How do you respond to the plaintiff's argument that Klein made the play more dangerous by having Marique get low?
Football players get low all the time. Offensive linemen do it every play, and quarterbacks do it too.
Let's take a look. Down the opposing counsel, what's already in evidence as Exhibit 8C and Exhibit 11. May I approach the witness?
You can.
I'm also handing the witness to Mark. Taking a look first at Exhibit 8C, what is this?
This is a photograph of Jalen Hurts and the Eagles running the quarterback sneak push.
Using that marker, can you show a line, draw a line showing the angle of the quarterback spine in Exhibit 8C?
Sure. So he's there.
Show what the witness drew to oppose that. May I publish the jury?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
And Councilor, I'm sorry to interrupt. Why don't we give this exhibit a new number?
Yes, I mean, mark it and reserve it as Exhibit 8C1.
8C1, thank you.
Looking at Exhibit 8C1, that line through, how would you describe the angle of the quarterback spine in 8C1?
Almost parallel to the ground.
Let's take a look at how the Giants do it. Doctor, I've got an iPad with Exhibit 11 at the exact same spot that you've got. I want to focus in on number 8.
All right.
What position does he play?
That's the quarterback.
How would you describe the position of the quarterback in Exhibit 11?
Again, almost parallel to the ground.
So, Doctor, what evidence did you find that the way Klein ran this play was any more dangerous than how it's run in the NFL?
None.
Thank you, Doctor. I can take that from you. I want to turn now to your second conclusion. If you had a model of the spine, would that help you explain why the choice of play didn't cause Marique's injury?
It would.
Your Honor, may Dr. X step down and make use of Exhibit 7 purely for demonstrative purposes.
Sure.
Here we go, Doctor.
Thank you.
Using Exhibit 7, show us where Marique was injured.
Marique's C4 vertebrae was fractured. Right here. that resulted in paralysis from the neck down.
That no quarterback had ever been injured on a sneak push. Have players been paralyzed on other plays?
Yes, of course.
Using Exhibit 7, show us what types of plays could cause a spinal cord injury.
Sure. So imagine a pass play. The quarterback drops back to pass, and the lineman comes from the blind side, hits him in the back. That can fracture his spine. Say the force of that impact drops him to the ground. That impact can fracture his spine. Say that when the quarterback hits the ground, he fumbles, and there's a dog pile for the loose ball. The weight of all those players on top of him can also fracture his spine. As you can see, even a routine play can involve spinal cord injury.
Thank you, doctor. I can take that from you. You can take your seat. Dr. Adams, on September 9th, what types of forces did Marik absorb?
He was hit by defenders, tackled to the ground, and piled under the weight of 6 other players.
How many of those forces can cause a spinal cord injury?
All of them.
How many of those forces are unique to Marik's snake?
None of them.
Thank you, doctor. Your Honor, I have no further questions. Sorry. Yeah, maybe that's. Dr. Adams, I don't want to take too much of your time, so let's just get right to the point. You're a football fan, correct?
Absolutely.
You watch it all the time.
Yes.
And so you're aware that, like you talked about a lot today, the forces are important.
Absolutely.
But just as important as forces in football, so is positioning, correct?
Yes. Positioning, blocking, all of that is important to the play.
And the angles of the players during that positioning and blocking are extremely important, right?
Yes.
For those plays to be run the way the coaches want them to be ran.
That's correct.
And you're aware that the angles in the tush push and Marik's sneak were very different.
They were different.
In fact, the defendants' coaches ran the play very different than the NFL would have ran the play.
They had Marik get low. That's true.
Like a battering ram.
That's how I believe Al Clooney mentioned that Mr. Powell described it. I wasn't there at that.
And his chin tucked in to where he couldn't see what was in front of him.
His chin was tucked in, yes.
In fact, in your own deposition, you said that these kind of blindsided collisions rarely happen, correct?
Right.
And they have their own names, calling it the Marik's sneak.
Yes, they named it after the player.
You call this innovation.
Yes.
First for everything.
Yes.
But Dr. Adams, you still said, despite all this, you wouldn't recommend that the play would be ran in this way.
Are you asking about my medical conclusions in my expert report, or are you asking about the interview where
Interview, Dr. Adams, you said that you wouldn't recommend the play to be ran in this way, correct?
Yes, in the interview, I wouldn't recommend changing the way the Eagles do it, that's for sure.
Dr. Adams, you testify in cases like this often, correct?
Yes,
In fact, you've testified in 120 of these kinds of cases.
that's right, all of the defense.
And in your litigation consulting business, this makes up about 90% of your income.
Yes, since 2023.
You're being paid $1,000 an hour in preparation of this case.
That's correct.
$2,000 an hour for your time here today. Or $2,000 for your time here today.
Yes, that's right.
And Dr. Adams, in every time that you've testified, all 120 cases, never once have you testified for a plaintiff.
That's right.
You've always testified on behalf of defense.
Yes,
And on top of all of that, Dr. Adams, you're good friends with Coach Powell, correct?
yes, like I said, he was my patient and we've since become friends.
So, Dr. Adams, just to get this correct, you're testifying on behalf of the defense like you always do. You're being paid for your time. Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
Your Honor, if I may rephrase.
Dr. Adams,
Rephrase?
yes.
Okay, sustain.
Dr. Adams, despite all this, you still testified
that you wouldn't recommend that the play be ran in this way. Or I'm sorry, you still said that you wouldn't recommend the play be ran in this way, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm saying despite everything that we've talked about today, which is a bit different than my previous question.
Overall.
I apologize if I could restate the question. Despite everything that we've discussed today, you would still say that you wouldn't recommend running the play in this way.
Right, I wouldn't recommend changing the way the Eagles do it.
Dr. Adams, you never once got a phone call from your close personal friend asking if it was safe to run the play in this way.
You're referring
To
to,
Coach Powell.
that's right.
Coach Powell never called and asked to make sure that having a 14-year-old run back exposed with those ankles that are so important to make sure that it was safe.
He didn't call me.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
You may proceed.
Dr. Adams, a moment ago, plaintiff counsel asked whether you would recommend the Klein change the play because of the way the Eagles run. Was that a medical opinion?
No, that wasn't one of the medical conclusions I stated in my expert report. I answered that question when asked in deposition.
Because based on your research, what happens when the Eagles run this play?
When the Eagles run this play, they gain the first down 90% of the time.
No further questions.
Based on that redirect and recross,
Yes, Your Honor. One quick question, Dr. Adams. Isn't the reason that you're here today is to use your medical experience to give opinions and statements in these cases?
I'm here to answer the questions I'm asked.
You're not here because you're an expert in football, correct?
No, I'm a neurosurgeon.
All of your opinions are based on that expertise.
Yes, all the opinions I included in my expert report.
No further questions, Your Honor.
thank you.
Thank you.
Has anything further before you rest?
Nothing further from the defense.
Okay. Are the parties requesting another brief recess?
Yes, Your Honor, just a brief recess before closing.
Okay, all right, we do.
Yes.
Get out. I'm ready. Walter, listen. We're locked in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Her grandson, yeah. She's like a sweet, she's sweet. She's a senior judge now. Yeah. Feel like it's so much pressure being part of it. Simple, easy arguments, so not. You like this the first stuff. Guys, ready to proceed with closing arguments?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's right.
Should I set up the courtroom briefly? Thank you. They took a good idea and they made it unsafe. They took a 14-year-old boy and turned him into a human battering ram. They took a play that had been run hundreds of times at every level of football and changed it by making a 14-year-old boy run with his face, head, and chest parallel to the ground. And they did it with complete disregard for his safety because they didn't check with anyone to find out how safe this play would be. So they should be held responsible for these actions, these failures that left a 14-year-old boy paralyzed because this was their play. It was their design. And that meant it was their responsibility to ensure this play was as safe as possible. Now, you've been given a verdict form, which has the questions you'll have to decide the outcome of this trial. And the honorable judge has also given you some instructions, which instructs you on how to answer those questions. Even if this determines that you all answer the outcome of this case, I want to go through these with you. Number one, did plaintiff prove more likely than not that Thomas Hart Klein High School, through the acts or omissions of its agents or employees, negligent? Now, this question makes clear we have the burden of proof to prove that to you today, likely than not. But what is it that we have to prove? What does negligence mean? Well, the good judge has also given you instruction. Instruction number 7 says that negligence means the failure to act as a reasonable person would in the same or similar circumstances. So what those questions mean is that we have to prove to you today the defendant's coaches didn't act as reasonable coaches of freshman high school football would act when they designed and implemented the Marique sneak. And we know that they didn't act as reasonable coaches would act when they designed and implemented this play for 2 reasons. Because this play was dangerous. And that means they either didn't know it was dangerous or they just didn't care. You all saw how the Eagles and other NFL teams run this play. The quarterback's head and chest up, they take a hit and push the pile. An athletic stance. And then you saw how the defendant's coaches instructed their play. With his head and chest parallel to the ground. Face down, couldn't see where he was going, couldn't defend himself, couldn't protect himself. They literally said they wanted to turn him into a human battering ram. Now, the defendants showed you some exhibits with some other NFL teams running this play. They showed you that maybe at the end of the play, the quarterback was parallel to the ground like this. But these coaches actually instructed Marique to run this way. More than that, you heard from Dr. Kensington Cotter, who testified why this is dangerous. Not just because a player could end up like this, parallel to the ground, but the problem was that he was being pushed from his head, when he put it right to the back of the center, and from behind. The problem isn't the force on his back. It was that he was being sandwiched. His back had nowhere to go. It was that compression of the spine, the position they put him in, that was so dangerous about this play. Football players end up in all kinds of positions if you've ever watched a game. But they put him in this position to be sandwiched because they wanted to turn him into a human battering ram, a human spear. You heard Dr. Cotter say that this play was dangerous, and you even heard their expert say that she wouldn't recommend running this play. Try to draw a distinction between her medical opinions and her expert report and the testimony she gave. But it's all based on the same expertise. The fact is, neither doctor that we heard from would recommend running this play this way. So we know that this play was dangerous. And that means these coaches either didn't know it was dangerous, or they just didn't care. Why wouldn't they have known this play was dangerous? Well, because they didn't ask. They didn't ask anyone. They didn't ask the varsity coach whether they should be running it. They didn't ask the athletic director. They said it would have been excessive to ask. This is freshman high school football. They didn't even call Dr. Powell's good friend, Dr. Omega Adams. We told them she doesn't recommend running this play. What she said is the way the Eagles do it. If it works, don't fix it. What did they do? Well, they wanted to get that 1 yard. So they told Marique to run just like this. It doesn't take a medical doctor to see that the way they designed this play was dangerous. Putting a kid's head in that position where he can't see 2 feet in front of him, being sandwiched on both sides by a player who's way larger than he is dangerous. But maybe they didn't know because they just failed to ask. Maybe they did know. You heard Dr. Cotter say that this play had to be in 48 other states pushing from behind. You heard her say that Philadelphia was set to ban this play the next year, and yet they still decided to run it. The fact that it was banned in so many other places never gave them pause for thought, never gave them one moment of, this is unsafe. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this for a freshman quarterback. We know that the play was legal. We admit that. But just because something is legal in football, such a dangerous game, doesn't mean that's a good idea. We all know that football is dangerous. We expect coaches to act with that knowledge. We expect them to be reasonable coaches. Which means sometimes checking with somebody, sometimes caring a little bit more about safety than winning. But you heard these coaches tell you that what they wanted to do was win. So maybe they just didn't care whether this play was dangerous. Maybe they didn't know. Either way, it was. That means what the coaches did was unreasonable in putting Malik Barnes in a position where he could be sandwiched. So when you get to question one, you know. The answer is yes. Question 2 states, the plaintiff proved, more likely than not, that the negligence of Thomas R. Klein High School through the acts or omissions of its agents or employees caused Marie Nubarance's harm. Now, the defense got up here and mentioned with other witnesses that, well, we don't really know what hit it was. We know that he was hit on his back. We know that he was paralyzed. But as we already talked about, the problem isn't the fact that he was hit in the back. Football players get hit in the back all the time. The problem is that he was sandwiched. Daniel Jones sandwiched between two bigger players. When he was hit on that play you watched, was Jalen Hurts being sandwiched between two bigger players on that play you saw him run in the tush push? No, because the NFL teams didn't run it that way. He was pushed forward with his head down into the back of the center, and he was being pushed from behind. And those forces together, combined with the dog pile that ensued on top of him, whatever hit that was, is what caused Marie Nubarance's injury. Now, the defendants have told you a lot that football is dangerous, and we agree. Football is a dangerous sport. But the concept of football, the game of football at large, didn't hurt Marie Nubarance. It was the position these coaches put him in, running the play exactly the way they told him to run it. That's what caused Marie Nubarance's injury. So when you get to questions, you know the answer is yes. Question number 3 says, did Thomas R. Klein High School prove more likely than not that Marie Nubarance assumed the risk of harm? Now, this question makes clear they have the burden of proof on this question. They have to prove to you that Marie Nubarance assumed the risk of running the Marie. We all know that football is dangerous. We've talked about that a lot. But these defendants actually want you to believe that a 14-year-old boy knew this play was dangerous. Their coaches would have had no reason to know. The adults in the room had no reason to know that this play was dangerous. It had been run hundreds of times. How could they have known? But Marie Nubarance, a 14-year-old boy, he did know the risks of running this Marie sneak, this new play that nobody in football had ever run this way before. Never mind what position people end up in on a football field. Nobody had ever told their quarterback to do this before. You heard Coach Clooney and Coach Powell tell you that. And yet little Marique New Barnes, in his 3rd year of tackle football, was smart enough to know that this carried a risk of harm. They really expect you to read that. It's the coach's job to be the adults in the room. It's the coach's job to coach their players, to make sure they're as safe as possible. Not to pass off risk on their 14-year-old quarterback when he ends up paralyzed. That's why we pay coaches. That's what we expect them to do. And so when you get to question 3, you know that the answer is no. In a moment, defense counsel is going to get up here. When they do, I want you to pay attention to something. See if they can explain why these coaches were reasonable to run this play in this way. When both doctors you've heard from today, both Kensington Cotter and Omega Adams, said they would not recommend running this play this way. See if they can explain that to you. If they can explain that these coaches were reasonable when the doctors in the room said they weren't. See if they can explain that to you.
Mr. Babcock, I'm guessing that's the one you removed your access speech.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Before the defense starts, Your Honor, may I reserve any of my remaining time for rebuttal?
Amen.
Thank you.
And I don't see that, that's why you're.
May I begin? Kickoff is in less than 2 hours. Today, there will be 14 NFL games. We don't know who will win. We don't know what the score will be. We don't know if there will be any game-winning touchdowns or 60-yard field goals. But we do know this. Players will get hurt. Someone will be carted off the field. Because the only way to avoid injuries in football is to not play football. Members of the jury, we won't ask you not to feel sympathy for Mr. Barnes and his family. We all do. Here in court, there's a difference between sympathy and liability. And client is not liable. Because this wasn't negligence. It was football. But the plaintiffs, they have the burden to prove it was negligence. To prove every element of their case more likely than not. They failed to meet that burden for 3 reasons. Football is dangerous. This was a football play. This was a football injury. So let's start with number 1. Football is dangerous. We're talking modern day gladiators. Players smash into each other, hit each other, tackle each other. The game that would get you kicked out of the game in other sports is the player of the game in this one. Members of the jury, you heard from the plaintiff's own witnesses. NFL players get hurt every game. Think about that. Those are the pros, with fleets of doctors and trainers and nutritionists, and even they get hurt every single game. Well, the plaintiff wants to say the Marine sneak was dangerous. Of course it was. Every play is dangerous, but the question was, is it substantially more dangerous than any other football play? The answer is no. Because of that second fact. This was a normal football play. Members of the jury, this is your verdict form. Question 1 asks, did the plaintiff prove Klein was negligent? As the judge will instruct you, negligence is a failure to act as a reasonable person would under the same circumstances. So what would a reasonable coach do? They call this play. It's run by the Eagles, it's run by the Giants, it's run in college. It's not negligent, it's normal. Even the plaintiff today has said it makes sense to call the same plays as the Eagles. Well, their expert, she testified that the Marine sneak is unsafe. She thinks every version of this play is unsafe. But she forgot to account for the speed. You see, in a sneak push and a Marine sneak, the players, they're all bunched together. They're close up. There's no distance to run. There's less speed, less force, less danger. Well, then, members of the jury, they want to say, well, this play, it's not like how they do it in the NFL. The Marine sneak is different. Marine, he gets low, and that's not the way they do it in the NFL. We showed you Exhibit 11, the Giants quarterback. All the offensive linemen parallel to the ground. Every single one of them parallel to the ground, head first. The plaintiff, they wanted to say, well, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, when they run it, he's not parallel to the ground. But all they showed you was a drawing. We showed you an actual photo of the Eagles. Exhibit 8C1. It may be a little bit difficult for you guys to see him. That's his foot out here sideways. Jalen Hurts, head first, deep in the players, parallel to the ground. Every single photo, every single video you've seen of an actual quarterback running this play, they end up head first, parallel to the ground. This was a normal play. So the plaintiff, they tried other arguments. They said this play, it increased the forces and increased the risk of injury. Why couldn't their expert give you a number? We asked her, well, how much more dangerous it is. She said, I don't need to measure the forces. Well, then they tried to say, Coach Powell should have done the research. Members of the jury, let's consider what that research would have shown. I understand you've heard from 2 different experts today, giving you 2 totally different opinions. So how do you determine who wins that battle of the experts? Let's look at the numbers. The play has been run hundreds of times in the NFL and college. How many injuries to quarterbacks? 0. How many spinal cord injuries? 0. How many serious injuries? 0. Members of the jury, how could it be negligent to run a play that had an injury rate of 0? So if Coach Powell had done his research and had looked at the injury rates, what would he have found? 0. Well, then they wanted to say, Coach Powell, he called Marique a battering ram, a spear. That proves he was negligent. No. He was a football coach. Members of the jury, when the quarterback can throw really far, he's a cannon round. When the running back breaks tackle left and right, he's a tank. We're gonna crush him. We're gonna kill him. Members of the jury, the plaintiff has it backwards. Football isn't violent because coaches talk like that. Coaches talk like that because football is violent. Back to your verdict form. First question, did the plaintiff prove that Klein was negligent? You can answer no. Because they didn't prove that this play was any more dangerous than any other football. Which brings us to the third fact. This was a normal football injury. I understand that when something horrible happens, someone gets hurt, our first instinct is to think something went wrong. Someone must have done something wrong. But we know that players have been hurt before, paralyzed before. The plaintiff tried to say, well, Marique, he got hurt on the Marique sneak, so it must have been because of the Marique sneak. The members of the jury learned today Marique sustained at least 3 other violent forces that day. He was hit, tackled, dogpiled on by the weight of at least 6 other players. And we learned today that those 3 violent forces, they can happen on any play. Because those things didn't happen to him because he was running the Marique sneak. They happened to him because he had the ball. And that's a problem for the plaintiff. Because their expert could not pinpoint which of those things caused Marique's injury. And we know all of those things happen on every other football. Back to your verdict form, question number 2, did the plaintiff prove that Klein's actions caused Marique's injury? No. They couldn't prove that the Marique sneak did anything differently to cause an injury than any other football play. But there's still another reason that law requires a verdict in favor of the defense, and that's question 3. This was for us to prove. Question 3 asks whether Marique assumed the risk of this injury. And what that means is, did Marique understand the dangers of playing football and still want to play it? We know Marique understood the risks of football because he said he did. In this waiver, acknowledging that broken bones, paralysis, even death could happen. We know Marique understood the risks of football because of his deposition testimony. It's football, so I knew there could be injuries, obviously. I know some players have gotten hurt really bad. We know Marique understood the risks. Because in tennis, you don't wear a helmet. In basketball, you don't wear a helmet. When you play a sport that requires you to wear a helmet, you understand there's a risk of injury to your head. The plaintiff, they tried to argue that, well, Marique, he didn't assume the risks of this play. But everything about this play is normal football. Getting tackled, getting dogpiled, and yes, getting low. All of those things are normal football, and Marique assumed the risks of football. Members of the jury, no one thought that this was going to happen to Marique. Not him, not his parents, not any of Klein's coaches. Everyone knew that it could. But question 3, we asked you to mark yes. ask you to return a verdict in favor of Klein. Because this wasn't negligence. It was football. Thank you. Would opposing counsel like me to move this to?
No, thank you. I know some players have gotten really bad, but I figured if I practiced, played smart, and listened to my coaches, I'd be okay. What did Maurice Newbarnes get hurt doing? You heard Coach Powell and Coach Clooney both say he was doing exactly what his coaches had told him. And he figured that if he did exactly what his coaches told him, he'd be okay. And he was not. They told you that football is dangerous. They told you a lot of things to distract from the facts of this case because they can't defend what their coaches did. So they have to show you NFL play, not this play. They have to show you where other quarterbacks get parallel to the ground, but they can't show you another quarterback in sandwich like Maurice Newbarnes was. Dog pileups happen on every play. That's correct. We agree. So then why was Maurice Newbarnes hurt? Why is it they can put a big number 0 next to the tush push, but next to the Marie sneak, which was only run 5 times, they would have to put a number 1. What was different about this play? Was it just that it was small? No, the defendants told you being small doesn't matter. Everybody's small enough. Was it the speed? Adams told you? Well, you know, everybody's moving slower. No, because Maurice Newbarnes got hurt on this play. He got dogpiled on this play. Like they said, happens all the time. So then why was this different? Because he was being sandwiched. Because he was between 2 players with his head down. Because he couldn't see. Because he couldn't defend himself. Because his back couldn't move. So when that dog pile happens, like it does on every football play, his back had nowhere to go. And his spine broke. And that was a football play? That was something that happens on every play? That's never happened when the tush push has been run before. Because this was their design. This was their play. And that means it was their responsibility to keep Maurice safe. Something he trusted them to do. Something the waiver itself says they would do. They would take all reasonable precautions, but they took none. They abused that trust that Maurice Newbarnes put in them, and they should be held responsible. Thank you.
And then one thing was all your jokes.
Right, or that not benefit for this room.
Exactly as much about. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so if you want to look at one, I can show you what it's like. For individual recognition. So this is similar to the specific that we're talking about, just overall. Yes, so it's like, it's instead of 1 through 10, each one, right? Like each one for everyone. Oh, I know this, it's number 1 for everyone, but bad. Okay. Never sounds like. You got it.
Yeah. So like you're like. No, but those are like scores for how the things are just like. Right, we're planning for this.
Where does the
So,
final round at?
like a little Benji.
Not you.
Yeah. You just break, it's just each. I just read from 1 to 4. Just write the 1, 2, 3, 4.
And as long as all the other judges have their ballots, you guys are good to give comments. They've asked us to limit comments to just one comment per judge for each team. So you give like one defense comment, one plaintiff comment.
Otherwise, we can go ahead.
Yeah, you guys are ready to go.
And for those of you who've done this a lot, you know how important it is to let these guys go when these cases can be participated this afternoon. So really do try to be concise. My name is Judge Dean. I'm actually a judge with the Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission, so I'm an ALJ. I've been here for over 20 years at the Department of Labor. I'm sure everyone will say the same thing. You guys were outstanding. All four of you truly outstanding. So it's so hard to differentiate when you're all at that level. And I could, like a lot of us, you know, give you all kinds of interesting feedback. But because I'm really going to try to limit this, I'm just going to point out one thing that I was particularly impressed by, and that was Ms. Davidson, on your direct of the expert. I thought you did a few subtle things that were just really outstanding. First of all, your question, you came to a different conclusion than the other expert. Why? It's such a great direct question because that's what they know. As opposed to just having them talk about the differences, you really pinpointed, this is the key right here. And then you also found a way, I mean, the toughest thing for your side is this version is different. There's a question, that position of this injured kid is different. And you found a way to focus on something else, which was the forces. So you ended up saying how many forces could have caused, and she had already said there were 3 forces. How many forces could have caused this injury? Any of them? How many forces were unique to this play? None of them. Right? That's like such a nice little twist. It's not the only way around the hardest thing for you guys. So that was really, really excellent. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'll go. I'm gonna keep this super short because I think
You guys were all super amazing. I do want to say that out of all of the other teams that I've watched previously, I really appreciated that both teams really responded to each other's factual arguments and legal arguments instead of just coming up here and just regurgitating whatever they memorized. And it makes it a lot more exciting to watch. And I really appreciate that from both teams.
Hi, my name is Habiba. I am a client alum and I'm seated in your seats, literally those seats not too long ago. This was so much fun to watch. And like the judge said, I was rooting for every single one of you. Like I really was like, this is so fun. And you were all having fun. So I'm just gonna keep it going. So I think that no matter how this shakes out today, I think you're all gonna have like excellent careers because you're gonna continue to have fun and like the passion, like the subtle differences that you picked up on, that's gonna differentiate you in life too. So it was so much fun to watch and be in your shoes. I like could tell you guys are enjoying it. So I don't know, I'm excited for whoever.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a trial attorney for the DA's office here in Philadelphia, former mocker at college and law school levels. I thought both teams were really excellent. I would just be as like a little criticism for both sides. Be careful what you are and are not putting on the actual factual record. There were a number of assumptions that were made by both sides, but were never formally entered as evidence, even if they were referenced in argument. I would also be careful, especially because it's football. I think a lot of people know a lot about football, but make sure that you do explain things because you can't assume that everyone's going to understand like why gaining a yard or two in certain moments is that important. And make sure if you're going to build towards like a theory that the plaintiff mentioned that like they were doing this because like it really mattered for their jobs, that you're explaining every element of that, why their jobs were stressed, what their record was, and like why that made a difference for their jobs, if that's going to be.
Hi, my name is Peter. I'm also a trial attorney in criminal. It was very hard to score. I just flipped a coin. It was very hard. Everyone was really, really good. The one thing I didn't understand, the first expert who testified, I didn't know why the defense wasn't going after what he was testifying. I was trying to figure out, was he no longer working at the school? Why was he testifying for the plaintiff? So I didn't know why the defense didn't go after him on that. Maybe I missed something or not, but he was called and then I thought he should have been cross-examined. I guess it was Mr. Babcock. I didn't know why you came back again after your closing. I thought your closing was one of the best I've ever heard in a courtroom ever. It was really, really good. And I didn't think you had to come back. I also thought your cross-examination was superb. I felt I was watching one of the best attorneys in trial court, how you did it. But as I said, everyone was so good, I could have just flipped a coin. So thank you for letting us have the opportunity to hear this.
I'm Martin Kramer. I tried cases for 63 years. Finally put myself out on retirement and moved to Pennsylvania. I'm not a member of the Pennsylvania bar. Mainly New York and New Jersey is where I did my work and federal courts around the country. I have a general comment about all, not so much for the closings, good, but in your general courtroom demeanor, all four of you, I think that one of the most important things for a successful trial attorney to have is built up anger. I didn't see that. I saw polite talking. I'm talking about compressed anger where you focus on the issues and where you bring to the jury your feelings. I didn't see that at all. I'm a big fan of shouting in the courtroom. Especially when you have a high courtroom ceilings. It's almost a necessity. Many judges don't like it, but they'll almost all permit it, because they do it themselves. You have to emote, you have to bring out your case. And I think the best way to do it is to raise your voice many times, especially on the important issues to you. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney. I just graduated in May, so I very, very recently was in your shoes. And I now do that. I'll do one comment each. Plaintiffs, I thought you guys had really excellent instincts, and I really liked what you had to say. Sometimes I wish you would just slow down a tiny bit and emphasize like certain points, because they were really good points, but you hit them so fast, you didn't give them a time to sink in. And defense also, you were really fun to watch as well. I thought the assumption of the risk argument was an interesting take. So just be really careful with your tone. It might come off like blaming the kid. But I did think that generally you did a really good job regulating your tone. And so overall, it was a really fun round.
My name is B. Schaefer, no relation. I am a public defender for the state of Delaware. I work in the felony trial unit. I'm also coach here at Drexel. This was a stellar round. I understand that some things did not go the way that probably everybody walked in here thinking that they would, but you should all feel really good about what you put down in this courtroom because it was very impressive. My note is something I always like to give something that is helpful to you in real life practice. And this is such an annoying comment to get, but it really does matter. You have to be mindful of your face when things are happening in the courtroom because you don't realize that you've got 12 people up here. Chances are some of them are looking at you and not the ones. And if you're making a face, if someone interprets that as disrespectful, that does not look good for you because at the end of the day, a huge part of jury trials is who they like better. As good as your arguments are, sometimes there are people who sit in this box and just pick who they like. So don't give them a reason not to like you. I know it sounds silly, but this was such a good round that that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Judge.
Good luck to both of you.
Yeah, we're done.
Thank you.
Are you guys want to know what happened? I'll make this very short because I'm seeing this around to prepare for. You guys can know, now since you're not judging the final, I'm very upset that you ran. I'll recommend that. You guys know who these teams are. So representing the plaintiff is Baylor Law School. And the defense is the UCLA law. These are two of the top 6 trial advocacy programs ranked nationally. The trial did not disappoint. The ballots were close and it was a split decision. Returning to the championship is UCLA. Representing the plaintiff against Cumberland in a rematch of last year's Battle of the Experts National Championship at 2 o'clock. Congratulations.
Guys, thank you.
It's a semifinalist.
Oh, semifinal.
Thank you. You're good.
It's also. I think these are thanks. Great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get one. You're taking the front.
So you want a chance?
Yes.
Even I was.